The International Court of Justice, ICJ, has begun the hearing of South Africa's genocide case against Israel, which has gained widespread support from countries, political figures, and grassroots movements worldwide. South Africa filed the lawsuit end of December, accusing Israel of genocide in its war on Gaza and seeking a halt to the brutal military assaults that has killed more than 23,000 Palestinians, nearly 10,000 of them children. The 84-page filing by South Africa says Israel violated the 1948 Genocide Convention drawn up in the aftermath of World War II and the Holocaust. Both Israel and South Africa are signatories to the United Nations Genocide Convention, which gives the ICJ the highest UN legal body jurisdiction to rule on disputes over the treaty. South Africa's legal initiative has received official endorsement from countries like Turkey, Malaysia, Jordan, Bolivia, Namibia, Pakistan, Venezuela, Colombia, and Brazil. Some European politicians are also advocating for their governments to align with South Africa in its case against Israel. Joining us on the show to discuss South Africa's case against Israel is Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Nigeria's former Minister of Foreign Affairs. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the morning show and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Ayel. And please forgive me if I don't say Happy New Year to you. And the same thing to Rufai. I'm not going to say Happy New Year to you. And the reason is simple. I read and watched in December the identity of man or woman or event of the year. And I disagreed with all the choices made. Because to me, the man and woman and child of the year were those people, journalists, doctors, United Nations officials who died in Gaza, who didn't have to be there, but from a sense of duty, from a sense of commitment, from the humanity in them, they waited there when they could have left, and they died. I recall the Director General of the World Health Organization talking about one of the doctors who died. Her 6-month-old baby also died. Her, older children, her father, her 11 members of her family died. Those, to me, are the people of the year. As we saw the brutality and the animal nature of us, human beings, being perpetrated in Gaza, we also saw the humanity in these people. So forgive me if I don't say Happy New Year to you.
Well, absolutely understandable, and thank you very much for paying tribute to these men, women, and children who've had to pay the ultimate price needlessly in the war between Israel and Hamas. And that's the topic of conversation this morning, where we're centering in on South Africa's going to the ICJ to confirm or perhaps a petition whether Israel was committing acts of genocide against Palestine, especially in line with the number of deaths in Palestine, as well as the infrastructural destruction in that place. The first thing I'd like to ask, I mean, back and forth cases have been heard from both sides. I read out the support of some countries for South Africa's petition, and on Israel's side, Germany has come out to support and say they were willing to defend Israel in this case. But I'd like you to share with us, Professor Akinyemi, does South Africa have a case? Because I understand that the issue of genocide is quite difficult to prove and might take a lengthy time, in the instance of this case. But your take on this particular move by South Africa?
Thank you for the question. I sat through the presentation of the cases by both sides, and you are quite right in identifying that factor of how difficult it is to prove genocide in a judicial case, because it is not the number of deaths in a war. In war, people die. In war, buildings are destroyed, infrastructure is destroyed. All those don't constitute genocide. Genocide is constituted by two things. One, the element of elimination of an identifiable group of people, and two, the intention to eliminate them. And here South Africa did brilliantly in its presentation, because there were sentences on record by Herzog, the president of Israel, Netanyahu, the prime minister, the defense minister, and high officials of Israel saying we must wipe out Hamas. Now, you could say there is an element of weakness there, because Hamas is not a racial group. However, when they said Hamas, and you combine that with what they have done, it's the Palestinians they were going to wipe out. And it is the Palestinians that they are wiping out. And there are statements on record where Hamas and Palestinians are used to know alternatively. There is a saying that you should be careful what you wish for, because when you get it, you may not be getting actually what you had planned for. Now, genocide came, as you rightly said in your intro, out of the Holocaust. The 1948 Convention on Genocide would not have been created if not for genocide. I mean, if not for the Holocaust. And who were the victims of the Holocaust? It was the Jews. And now, to have the Jews being the, if you like, the victims of a case before the International Court of Justice.
Okay, sir.
Surely,
you feel sad.
I don't even know what you will call it, but it has happened.
Okay.
And there is no doubt that the case of South Africa is strengthened by the case that Israel brought.
Okay.
And I must emphasize this. Israel's defense was to talk about what Hamas has done. Fine. But in international jurisprudence, genocide is one of the few conventions for which there is no justification.
Okay.
None whatsoever.
Okay,
you
sir.
cannot defend your
sir.
action.
Sir,
so that has to be borne in mind.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for opening it this way, and I really appreciate your concern. And I think the true heroes of last year and this year are those on the front lines and that are helping to get safety to people. But I'll go take a short break now. Real quickly, going back to Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, I'm really happy about the symbolism you made, that the same Israeli that were those that were seeking justice, when you look at all the atrocities that happened in Auschwitz and the likes, and what culminated into the Nuremberg trials against the Nazis, are the ones now perpetrating this crime against, the people in Gaza. The question is, going forward, how do we stop it? The world needs a ceasefire in that region. Israel claimed that it is finally done with its, onslaught there. How can we pull Israel to the table to stop the bombardment of Gaza? Quickly, sir, as we wrap up, sir.
The only country in the world that actually has the power to stop the Israelis is the United States. And the United States isn't going to do that because of the electoral power of the Jews in the United States. This is election year. Biden is not going to risk his presidency by putting the kind of pressure that you need to stop the Israelis. He's simply not going to do that. And so, it's a shame that we are sacrificing our morality for electoral purposes. God is not going to forgive us. And when the history of this time is written, people are going to ask each one of us, what did you do? What position did you take? They will ask. And what will we say? At least South Africa has struck its neck out. A good moral position. This is what I once referred to on your program as the Mandelization of South Africa. South Africa simply did this because it had that moral compulsion to do so. So, I'm afraid we are stuck. The Palestinians are stuck, and it's a shame. And even though I wasn't too happy at the interruption of my presentation, but actually when I think about it, the last post is very apt for the death of all the people that I started my own presentation with. We haven't honored them. You didn't honor them by, making them, men of the year, children of the year, doctors of the year, journalists of the year, and you continue to do your job in Gaza. Well, maybe although you didn't plan it that way, maybe it's just apt that, the last post is in the honor of all those who have given their life for a just cause.
Thank you so much, Prof. And the last post is symbolic. The last post indicates a finality to life. And I hope we all do what is right. Thank you, Prof, for today. Really appreciate you, sir.